Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Playmakers. What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going through my wide receiver start sits. So this is where I go through every week 6 matchup and talk about whether or not I feel confident having every fantasy relevant wide receiver in my starting lineup. And while you guys are watching this video, if you're enjoying the content, please just hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. You guys can drop any fantasy related questions. I'll be responding to every single comment. But let's get right into the first matchup. Starting off with Thursday Night Football, we have the Bucs traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. And for this Buccaneers team, you've got to be starting their big three at wide receiver: Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, and Chris Godwin. All of these guys have been feasting basically the entire season. And if you look back at Sunday's game against the Dolphins, the worst wide receiver here was Chris Godwin, and he still put up like 14 PPR fantasy points. So they have just been dominant. They will continue to be dominant, and I think they can all put up some big numbers here on Thursday night. On the Eagles side, this is a pretty solid matchup. It's been well documented. This Bucs secondary is very banged up. They're going to be missing at least 2 starters. Winfield may not be back. They also have Levante David now, who is dealing with a low ankle sprain, so I doubt he would play. But this Eagles wide receiver core just hasn't been super reliable. So the only person I do feel confident starting is Devonta Smith. He is pretty clearly the wide receiver 1 on this team. So Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins are going to be sits. They just haven't been putting it together on a consistent enough basis. Then we have the first Sunday game. I believe this one is in London. It's the Dolphins taking on the Jaguars. This Dolphins team was pretty underwhelming against the Bucs. You know, you would expect some of these wide receivers to have some big games with that poor secondary. It really ended up being just Myles Gaskin. If Devontae Parker is healthy, I'm going to have him as a start. Jalen Waddle is going to be a sit. I thought that was a great opportunity on Sunday for him to have a big game with Devontae Parker out of the lineup. He just didn't do it, and so I just do not trust him moving forward, especially with Brissett at quarterback. For the Jaguars, I'm also going to be sitting Laviska and Marvin Jones. This kind of feels harsh, but I really can't trust this Jacksonville Jaguars offense also. They've really kind of found some success in the run game with James Robinson. I think they're going to continue to do that. And overall, Trevor Lawrence has really just been spreading the ball around. You saw Dan Arnold get involved. Agnew had a role. Even Tavon Austin was out targeting Laviska and Marvin Jones. So until they put up, another fantasy relevant performance, they are going to be on my bench. Then we have the Chiefs taking on the Washington football team. And this is really a one-man show at wide receiver for both of these teams. Tyreek Hill is a start. Mecole Hardman is going to be a sit. You just can't count on him on a week-to-week basis. And then for the Washington football team, like I said, one-man show. Terry McLaurin's the only guy listed here, and he is 100% locked into your lineup. Then we have the Rams traveling to New York to take on the Giants. For the Rams, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are both locked into your lineup. Cooper Kupp is a high-end wide receiver 1. Robert Woods finally had his first big-time performance in Week 5. And then I'm going to be sitting Van Jefferson. If both of these guys, Kupp and Woods, are super involved in this offense, Van Jefferson's just not going to be a reliable piece. On the Giants side, there's really not a ton to talk about here. Just because there are so many injuries, we don't really know what's going to happen with Shepard, Slayton, or Kenny Golladay. So right now, I just have Kadarius Toney listed as a start. Basically, if one of those wide receiver goes, so either Shepard, Slayton, or Golladay, then I think Kadarius Toney is a solid start. If 2 or 3 of those guys are ready to go come Sunday, then I would not feel as good about it. But we really just kind of have to see how this week is going to play out. The next game here is going to be between the Texans and the Colts. On the Texans side, Brandon Cooks has had 2 kind of down games in a row, but I think a good sign from Sunday was that this offense overall looked good. That is going to benefit Cooks in the long run. There's only so much he can do when the quarterback's throwing for 90 or 150 yards. If he can get up there in the 200s, Brandon Cooks will continue to be a solid play. For the Colts, I like Michael Pittman in my lineup. He's been their clear number 1 and just a very consistent option, especially in PPR formats. I'm going to be sitting Zach Pascal. He's had some luck getting into the end zone, but he just doesn't have the volume to compete with Pittman. In this next matchup between the Bengals and the Lions, I'm going to be starting this big 2 in the Bengals wide receiver room, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It really does look like Jamar Chase is the number 1 there, but I think T. Higgins can still succeed as the number 2 wide receiver. And then I'm going to be sitting Tyler Boyd. I've been on record saying this a bunch of times, but with Chase and Higgins, I just don't think Boyd is going to be able to get the volume he needs to produce on a week-to-week basis. On the Lions side, this wide receiver core has been a mess all season, but there may be one guy kind of starting to break out, and that is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's been targeted 8 times in both of the last 2 games. If you can just find someone in this wide receiver room who's going to be seeing that volume, it might be him, and he could be a potential start moving forward. I just want to see it for at least one more week. Then we have a divisional matchup here between the Packers and the Bears. For the Packers, this is pretty clear. The only person you want to start is Davante Adams, and he is locked in every single week, coming off a monster Week 5 performance. And then for the Bears, it's brutal, but you really just cannot start Allen Robinson or Darnell Mooney. This offense has been bad. They're really just not letting Justin Fields kind of air it out. They're going to play very conservatively and rely on their defense, and unfortunately, that's just not going to get it done for A-Rob or Mooney. We have another really solid matchup here between the Chargers and the Ravens. On the Chargers side, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are both locked in starts. Mike Williams has looked amazing, like the number 1 wide receiver on this team, probably a top 12 guy moving forward. So if you drafted him as like your wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, you are looking absolutely golden moving forward. On this Ravens side, Marquise Brown is going to be a start. He's earned that with his production so far this year. And then sits are going to be Sammy Watkins and Rashad Bateman. Vikings Panthers is up next here. And for the Vikings, even though Adam Thielen is coming off a slow Week 5 performance, him and Justin Jefferson are still locked in starts. And then for the Panthers, DJ Moore is a set it and forget it type of wide receiver. Top 10 guy 100% moving forward. And then I'm also going to be sitting Robbie Anderson. Just really has done nothing this year to warrant being a fantasy start. Then we have the Cardinals taking on the Browns. And on this Cardinal side, this one was kind of a tough call because these kind of guys behind DeAndre Hopkins, at least 1 or 2 of them is going to ball out every week. So obviously DeAndre Hopkins a locked in start. I ended up listing Moore, Kirk, and AJ Green all as sits, and that was kind of tough here. We saw this Browns defense get absolutely shredded by the Chargers. But the problem is a guy like Rondell Moore, Christian Kirk, or AJ Green, they could go out there, put up 20 points, or they're just not as involved and they put up like 3. There's just not enough stability. And hopefully moving forward, we kind of see 1 or 2 of these guys behind Hopkins kind of break out as the clear number 2 and number 3. For this Browns team, this is tough, but I'm going to be sitting OBJ. This may seem a little bit harsh, but in a game where the Browns put up 42 points, Odell Beckham was still not able to get involved. They're just so run heavy that I really just want nothing to do with this passing attack. This next game is a divisional matchup between the Raiders and the Broncos. On the Raiders side, Hunter Renfrow has just been so consistent, especially in PPR formats. He's just a lock for 10 plus points and has been by far the most consistent wide receiver. Ruggs and Bryan Edwards can put together some big plays, but just nothing that I want in my lineup. On this Broncos side, Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick are both locked in. I think both of these guys have kind of been underlooked so far this season. Both have been very solid starts and have put together some really nice games. The next matchup here is between the Cowboys and the Patriots. On the Cowboys side, I'm going to be starting Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. Hopefully for these wide receivers' sake, the Patriots defense can kind of slow down this run game and really give Dak the opportunity to unload the ball for these wide receivers. They've been putting up solid performances. They just haven't had the volume that I was expecting this season. On the Patriots side, I just don't trust this offense at all, to be honest. So I'm going to be sitting Myers, Aguilar, and Bourne. Myers was a guy that I was fine starting at the beginning of the season. He does get the volume. He's the number 1 wide receiver, but there's just no upside. And his floor is fairly high, but not high enough for me to want him in my lineup every single week, without any ceiling. Then we have the Sunday night football game here between the Seahawks and the Steelers. For the Seahawks team, big hit with Russell Wilson being out for like 6 to 8 weeks. They now have Geno Smith, but I still think Metcalf and Lockett are very suitable starters moving forward, even without Russ. For the Steelers, Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool are looking golden for the rest of the season. We just found out that Juju Smith is going to be out for the season. He's been a non-factor so far, but it's really just going to give more work to DJ and Chase Claypool moving forward. Plus, as a whole, the Steelers' offense looked much improved in Week 5, so hopefully they can carry that into this Sunday Night Football matchup against a weak Seahawks defense. Then we have a nice game here for Monday night. The Bills traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. For this Bills team, it's going to be Stephon Diggs and Emmanuel Sanders as starts. So far, they've been the clear 1-2 on this team. Cole Beasley is going to be a sit. He's honestly been a little phased out of this offense, after the first few weeks of the season. And then on the Titans side, A.J. Brown is a start. I know he's been a disappointment to start off the season, but he should be bouncing back very soon. We still don't know if Julio's going to play, so he's not even listed. But if Julio's out, I'm not interested in anyone behind A.J. Brown in that wide receiver room. But that is going to wrap it up for all of the Week 6 matchups. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, let me know your thoughts, questions, comments, anything down below in the comment section. If you want to see more videos like this, check out my running back start sits also coming out today. I'll have the tight ends and the quarterbacks tomorrow. And then I also posted my waiver wire targets, buy low candidates, and sell high candidates yesterday. So go check all of that out. Thank you for stopping by, watching, and listening, and I'll see you guys next time.